Hello and welcome. I'm KJ and this is Swiley.
Hello again.
And you're listening to UnMaddening, where we unpack the madness of society one word at a time. And the word of the day is retaliation, which is the action of returning a military attack or a counterattack, or any act of harm committed in response to an actual or perceived harm. Typically involves a response meant to harm or punish the other party. Similar words to retaliation are things like revenge or vengeance. The AI overview for the word retaliation says that it's an act of harm or punishment inflicted in response to a previous injury, offence, or perceived wrong, often involving a cycle of revenge, like a tit-for-tat action, common in legal contexts, such as an employer firing someone for whistleblowing. Nah, that wouldn't happen. Or governments taking action against another nation, but also applies to everyday interpersonal conflicts where it's synonymous with revenge or reprisal. Doesn't sound like a very good thing.
Sounds like a nice word for the day.
Okay, so on the 14th of December this year, there was a terrorist mass shooting at Archer Park near Bondi there, or beside Bondi Beach. In the late afternoon, during a Hanukkah celebration, there was approximately 1,000 people there, and 2 gunmen were shooting at the crowd. They killed 15 people, including a child, and some reports say 40 people in addition were injured. Some other reports are saying 42. Anyway, a lot of people, affected by this. And then over the days that followed, there were some more details. ABC had an article on the 15th, the following day, that stated, one of the Bondi Beach gunmen came to the attention of Australia's Domestic Intelligence Agency 6 years ago for his close ties to a Sydney-based Islamic State terrorism cell.
What are we doing? What is going on?
Earlier today, this is more of the article, earlier today police revealed the 2 Bondi Beach gunmen were a father and son and then gave their names, stated one of them is in hospital under police guard and the other, the father, died during gunfire exchange with officers. Okay, so following this terrorism act, there was a lot of chatter with the politicians about, gun reform. This is the problem. It's gun reform. We need to fix all the guns everywhere. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, because that'll fix it.
Yes, to minimise it and ignore the real issues, we'll just point at this instead in case we offend somebody. And then, of course, the PM has to do a media release about what his response to this travesty is. And it reads, he did that on the 19th of December, and of course I'll put the link in there for you so you can read it yourself in its entirety and enjoy it. The federal and New South Wales governments have declared Sunday the 21st of December a day of reflection to honour the victims of the horrific terrorist attack at Bondi Beach and to stand in solidarity with the Jewish community. The Commonwealth and state government will also work closely with the Jewish community on arrangements for a national day of mourning to be held in the new year. This will allow families the time and space to lay their loved ones to rest and to support those still recovering. The Day of Reflection will be observed on the final day of Hanukkah, a time traditionally associated with light, faith and resilience, making the loss felt by the Jewish community even more profound. All Australians share in their grief. It then talks about flags being flown at half-mast as a mark of respect and encouraging people to light a candle at 6:47 p.m, 1 week since the attack unfolded, as an act of remembrance, and asking Australians to observe a minute of silence. And it finishes that bit off there by saying, this day is about standing with the Jewish community, wrapping our arms around them and sharing their grief as one state. It is a moment to pause, reflect and affirm that hatred and violence will never define who we are.
It's a nice sentiment, but maybe just a day of reflection, maybe time for some reform, time for some change.
Gun reform?
No, not gun reform, but, just the way that we're treating each other and the way that we're, dealing with these mass groups.
Broader
that are
policies?
Broader policies. And, maybe it's time for a task force.
This, it reads as a good thing, I suppose, but I'm sorry, I agree with you, Swells. It isn't enough, right? We're not going to undo the negativity that has already been festering for a long time.
That's right.
And all of those missed opportunities that leaders have had to actually stamp that out.
Yeah.
before it morphs into these sorts of things. Another ABC article with a little bit more on what they're pretending is the issue to deflect here. The federal government has announced it will fund a national buyback scheme to reimburse gun owners who hand in surplus, newly banned or illegal firearms under tougher gun laws being proposed in the wake of the Bondi terror attack. So it's just like the machete amnesty thing.
Yeah.
Again, we're just going to repeat that.
How much are those bins going to cost?
Yeah, another use of taxpayer money to allegedly fix a problem which isn't actually the core problem.
It's a Band-Aid, isn't it? Just a very, very expensive Band-Aid.
Yeah. And then over at The Guardian, there's an article from the 19th of the 12th which said that hate speech laws will be expanded to directly target hate preachers under a new push to stamp out anti-Semitism, as Anthony Albanese concedes more could have been done to combat anti-Jewish sentiment ahead of the Bondi Beach massacre. Obviously, speech that is hateful, not a good thing, and it can incite violence.
Yeah.
And in no way, shape or form are we saying, oh, we should have, people should be allowed to do that and should be able to do it. But this is a big worry, right? Why does he concede now after this? Is it because him lying in wait and tiptoeing around the problem has now done actually what he was hoping that it was going to do? Because now you can distract the people with more nonsense about censorship of speech or gun reform or whatever, you know.
Yeah, agree.
Censor the general public, most of which are not engaging in what they will deem hate speech anyway. They're just speaking their minds and standing up for traditional Aussie values. And
you look at all these protest groups that were going around and just, you know, building momentum. You can see this was coming this way where, you know, should your hate speech laws actually have some kind of meaning or some kind of backbone, maybe these sort of things would have been, you're entitled to protest, you're entitled to free speech, but maybe some of the things that you were leaning to and the things that were saying were not profitable for a country.
Not profitable for our culture, like those things that were being allowed to be spoken. But then you're leaning into controlling what is said at all, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Because if you want to have free speech, then you kind of also have to have an allowance for speech that can be deemed hateful. But who's choosing what is hateful? That's the most worrisome thing about it. Who gets to determine what falls underneath that banner?
That was probably more to my point was, you know, you're silencing those that on one side and encouraging the others and allowing them to incite violence on the other side as well. It's just, you know, free speech is free. It's a conversation. It goes two ways, one back, one, but you present one side of the story, you present the other side of the story, and you flesh it out, you talk about it.
It doesn't look like those protests that have been happening are peaceful, and they certainly don't appear to be taking place in order to open up a line of dialogue to better understand one another. That's not really what's happening there.
It's just like with kids. If you let the bad behaviour continue, it gets worse. You need to say, no, that's naughty, don't do that. And then we'll go back.
Give them a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we're good at giving slap on the wrist, so why not pan them out properly?
But if we don't have an outline on what's hateful,
that's right,
we are in a bit of a pickle, right? Because a Christian pastor that's preaching, according to the flippity-dippity terminology of hateful or harmful, that could be called harmful. Or defining what a woman is, harmful.
Yeah.
Potentially. Because you have this governmental modification of language that they deem appropriate, but they haven't told you what the parameters are that they want you to sit inside of. They just pick and choose when it suits what suits them as to what is allowed and isn't allowed, and that's hate today and that's harmful over here. Not going to have it, don't like it. But we're supposed to just trust the experts again.
Yeah, and you could throw the same thing back to the experts and say, well, you're breeding this culture of young people that have no perseverance and no backbone, and everyone's jumping on the Me Too movement. And
because those are allowed. Those ones are not harmful or hurtful or hateful, apparently. They're allowed to be spoken about.
That's the point that I was getting to. I think that's harmful, and I think that's where we've got, and that's more to the point that I was making.
Yeah.
We allow this culture and this ideology to envelop, and this is where we are.
But these experts are the same people that we know remove things from the internet that don't suit their narrative. We know that.
Yeah.
And we know they allow through and push through promotion of things which, like you just said, you don't necessarily agree with and most Australians don't agree with, yet those are the things that are being pumped down your throats, forming the minds of these young Greens supporters. Anyway, we've said it before, we'll say it again, it's a trap, okay? If perfect ingsoc or your perfect 1984 language is all that we are allowed to use, we're in big trouble.
That's right.
Australia is in big trouble. This is not a good idea. You can already see there's posts that the e-safety commissioner team has put up saying like, I've got my e-safety team monitoring what's going on online and encouraging people to report harmful content. But like we just said, harmful is a very ambiguous term, like hateful. Who's deciding what's harmful or hateful and who is it harmful to? And it just feels like you're just saying that off the back of an absolute tragedy, a disgusting act has happened, and now you just jump on and go, oh, we're monitoring for harmful stuff.
That's right.
And expect us to believe that your agenda is the protection of the Jewish community, although we can see what's happened the last few years.
It's the controlling of the masses.
Yeah, let us keep you safe. We know what's best for you. It's infuriating.
Trying to direct your thoughts and feelings on what you may
Thought
have.
police.
Yeah, that's right.
I pulled some statistics from the Never Again Is Now website. If you are not familiar with it, check it out. But it states that anti-Semitism events in Australia have increased by 738% since 38% since October 7 to 2023.
Wow.
Also from the website, it talks about how many Jewish people are in this country. So 120,000 Jewish people in 27 million, which is 0.44% of the national population. But that percentage is 55 times more likely to experience a hate crime than any other Australian.
It shows you where the culture's gone in this country.
Yeah, bit of food for thought. Check that website out and let that sink in. Anyway, back to the word of the day, retaliation. Right. Extremists could claim that this act on December 14 was retaliation. They could, and they did, claim the same sort of thing for October 7.
Yeah.
They said that was retaliation. They could and likely do claim that all of the threats and aggression and protests and intimidation of the past few years has been retaliation too. But why engage in retaliation at all? Is retaliation, do we think that Australia deems retaliation as an acceptable behaviour?
Is it harmful?
I think so. But I'm not the one that gets to decide what's harmful and what isn't. We know that it's not something that would be considered acceptable in the Bible, which is where we find our truth. We'll find the truth, sorry. In Romans 12:19 it says, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give peace unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord." It's not up to us to be engaging in these retaliation tactics such as these groups would like to. Or how about the traits that we're supposed to be displaying, like the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5? Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, not retaliation, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Not retaliation. I'm not seeing any of those sorts of things in there.
Not to be quick to wrath.
So are we supposed to pretend that the opposing book that some call holy is not teaching the opposite of those things that I just mentioned of the fruit of the Spirit?
Yeah,
we know that it does.
100%.
So I can see the anger at the problematic state of our country. Like I can see how people like you and I and Joe Blogs down the street would look around and go, this is frustrating, and want to have some kind of action. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't stick up for ourselves or protect ourselves, each other, our nation. I just want to point out the dangers of that tit-for-tat vibe that these people are engaging in, like of believing that we as an individual have the right to punish other people for perceived or legitimate wrongs. Yeah.
And I mean, this is an age-old, it's been going around since biblical times, basically the back and forth. But, you know, you don't have the right to judge people or to even judge their own sins. Like, you know, oh, well, that's a worse sin than this one. Well, no, it's not. It's
sin grading.
You're all going to be judged by God. And, you know, if that's where your belief lies and holds true, you shouldn't be quick to wrath. You shouldn't be, you know, treating people in a way that you would want to be treated in your own right.
Yeah. But, you know, anger, it's a human state.
That's right.
Frustration, fear, these are normal human things that we feel as a result of sin being in the world. We don't get to just feel awesome all the time because sin is in the world. So
try as hard as you may, I can't say that I've never been quick to anger.
No, of course not, because we're all sinful. But it's what we're doing with these circumstances that we're finding ourselves in and how we're dealing with it, right?
Correct.
Not claiming that we're doing it all right.
Not perfect.
At all. But, like, just as an example, even with retaliation, that can be a problem for me, even on a small scale. Like being quick to spit out an unkind comment if I've taken something that someone said the wrong way, or I'm in a bad mood and I'm short and like snippety, or maybe you've said something I've taken it incorrectly, and now I want to retaliate against you for some perceived wrong.
Taken incorrectly.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know. I was joking.
If you look at the state of our country, you can see how the small scale of these retaliation vibes or seeds can then morph into
bigger
when
problems.
You feed it with these false offers of glory and infamy for engaging in these acts of retaliation. Like that is what they're told and taught. Bondi, that wasn't just a snippy
like a
remark.
Spray bottle of petrol on a fire.
Yeah, that was long stage planning, driven by a slight directed at an entire group of people and grounded in this extremist religious belief. It's terrifying.
It is. It's worrying that, you have to live in a country where, the government would know about it and still not do anything about it. Because like you said, how long were they watching him for?
I think that said 6 years or something.
6 years.
Fact check me, please.
And I just, I did have a look on about it, and there was links to like known terrorist organisations.
Yeah, and this is just one. That's one bloke. That's one dude.
Bloke.
Never Again is Now is the name of that website. Check it out again, and it's an important thing. Never Again is now. So if it is in fact Never Again is now, this is a pretty dangerous thing to allow ourselves to just look the other way on. Anyway, thinking about retaliation, the excuses people make for the he said, she said reasons we're entitled to attack or whatever, it isn't justifiable. And I really want to have a good look at my own responses and reactions and work harder, suck less and try harder to separate myself from engaging in that kind of retaliation behaviour, because I just don't want to be associated or be like somebody like that in any way if I can help it. Right. Even just by working a bit harder and praying harder to remove that part of my, that struggle that I have, that sin of behaving in that way, then I will work towards that. But I do want free speech. I think we should be able to have free speech without these acts of the violence and the retaliation. We're supposed to be the lucky country.
Yeah, and free speech will come with the side of people acting inappropriately and not saying the right thing, and not. That's where we as a group, as mankind, need to, put yourself in a check. I mean, man's full of sin, so it's always going to happen, and there's no way that you can stop that. But you need to really look back inward on yourself and check yourself.
Yeah,
and I think that's where, with all the movements that are going on and all the, you can't say this, you can't say that. Well, that's where it's getting lost. People just say whatever they want, do whatever they want, act however they want, with no real consequences, because you can't tell me that I can't say that because I'm entitled to it. And it's just a culture and an ideology that we've developed that is quite harmful to the way that we are.
Well, there's supposed to be sort of a general Australian culture of mateship, right?
Yeah.
Looking out for each other, etc., just generally being nice.
And I say after this attack, there'll be a bunch of groups that'll be like, yep, that's great, and be, outwardly expressing that.
What happiness about it. There was a bit of that.
But yeah.
I think Australians, we need to stand up as a collective and say clearly to each other, having conversations to each other, and also to our leaders, that we don't accept this kind of behaviour, and we want free speech, and we want our Australian culture, and then actually demand that our leaders call out these acts that go against our way of life and properly condemn them, not just do an MSM interview with a couple of buzzwords, right? But let us see some genuine action.
Or put together a do group. Talk about it for the next 2 or 3 years.
A task force. Gosh.
And I think that's the appropriate level of, let's just use the word of the day, retaliation on this, is we need to ask the government, the elected government, these leaders that are in power to actually lead and fix this mess.
Even if it's unpopular.
Even if it's unpopular.
Even if it's an unpopular opinion, you still need to be doing it if that's what is right.
Yeah, own up. Okay, yep, I've made some mistakes. Oh, yeah, we could have done a bit more. No, you've made mistakes and you need to fix them. And I think that's probably the appropriate level of retaliation, is to start saying, right, we don't want this to happen again, and how do we stop this from happening again? Band-Aids aren't going to fix it.
No.
It's a backbone that's going to fix it.
Well said. We might need new leadership to actually implement that, unfortunately, but we'll see. I read a Rebel News article written by Avi, and actually just got the email saying he's about to go live in Melbourne.
Live currently.
Yeah, there's a couple of protests today from 2 p.m. There's one in Sydney and another one in Melbourne, and they were arranged by the Put Australia First organisers. And a quote from the article says, "Good governments don't import and support terrorists." That's what it was written on the promotional material. And they're going to do a candlelight memorial. So it'll be interesting to watch the footage back and see how many people have turned up for these events to, speak up and say, no, thank you. This is not what I want. This is not what I'm interested in raising a family in or being a part of. So final thought here, I guess, is that I would encourage you not to fall victim to that concept of retaliation, even when everything feels really dark and rubbish like this. There definitely are better, wiser and stronger ways to combat evil. And we just, we need to have faith, obviously, and trust the process that God's got it under control. But we also need to stand up and demand that we're not going to put up with this.
Don't be complicit, but, you should treat everyone else in higher esteem than yourself, and treat everyone with love that you would expect to be treated with.
Yeah, I reckon we can do it.
Or that you've been given.
I reckon we can do it together.
Yeah.
On that note, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Until then, peace and God bless.
This content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. We are not journalists, pastors or politicians. You are not more likely to suck less or try harder having listened to these shenanigans.